how to be your most productive self. And this is always such a very hot topic, amongst my coaches, amongst my listeners. And I'm going to show you the one trick you have to apply in your business to be more productive this year and also the next. This is Big Business with Sarah, the podcast for entrepreneurs who want to continue building their business and understand you should never stop learning. So one of the things that most people work with me for is because they want to be more productive. They want to use their time very well, and they also want to enjoy their free time. So for instance, many of my clients are mothers, and as you can imagine, even if you don't have children, children take time. You need to take time to also enjoy and see your children grow, but also really care about your children. You can't just let them, fend to their own accord, but just, really help them. So of course that takes time. And, once there was someone who actually, we talked about maybe working together or, setting up a business. And he told me that he always preferred to work with women around the age of 30 or 40 or, mothers in general, because they were such great workers. And I was thinking, do I like this comment or not? I'm still not really sure. But the thing is, what he said is that, so many women are very, very able to manage it all. So, and sometimes it's just that you are actually thinking, actually, I wish I had more time for this or that. And especially for you, then I created this episode. I have another episode on productivity. I think it's episode 18. I'm talking more about systems and how to use them. But this is actually the one trick that I help my coaches with. And it's also the first part of my module number 6, productivity. So I'm giving you really some free value here. I'm giving that in all episodes, but this is exactly what my coachees learn and what I believe to be, the ultimate way to be the most productive. Because I don't believe in little tools like, for instance, shit lists or, whatever, all these tools that you can use, or maybe Toggle, the time tracking system. And yes, of course, it is nice to know where your time goes. And yes, I'm also advising this to my coaches. But actually, what I made up, or what I use actually already for my entire career, and also already during my study, is this. So quite a build-up, right? So I want you to think about, there's all these different ways of how to say it, but also, you can begin with the end in mind, or you can have a vision board for the rest of your life. That's what we're going to start with. You're probably thinking, and maybe you're writing whilst you're listening to this episode, and you're thinking, okay, I did not really expect this, but actually the most important way to become more productive is to know when you are productive. So that's why we're going to begin with the end in mind. And I have to give credits here, begin with the end in mind is something that Stephen Covey invented. He's one of my favorite writers. If you've listened to more of my podcast episodes, you know that. And this is coming from his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But the thing what he does is actually he's challenging you to think about, once, death might appear in your life. And, this will all happen to one of us at some point. And let's hope for you and everyone around you that it's going to take a very long time before it happens, but it is going to happen. But actually to think about, when you're looking back at your life, you might be blessed to have that, possibility to look back at your life. And what do you see? What do you want to see? What kind of person do you want to be? And how do you want to influence others? What is something that you wanted to have created? Maybe you want to have children or grandchildren. Maybe that's something that you really, really live for. Or maybe you have a business solution that you're really helping a lot of people with. Or maybe you've set up a foundation to help grow your impact because you believe that some parts in the world aren't right now, and you have actually done that, and that's what you're looking back at. Or maybe you just really want to have a great friendships and really hang out a lot and spend every weekend with friends and drinking wine and whatever is your idea of what is the right thing. And this can always change, right? So you don't have to be afraid that if you're writing it down now, it's not carved in stone. You can also change this. So no worries, you can just write this down right now, and even tomorrow you can have different plans. But and maybe you're thinking, that might be a waste of time because it might be different in 2 years' time. Well, actually, it's not a waste of time. Actually, just by writing it down, it becomes more actionable, and you can actually do something about it to reach that. So you're going to begin with the end in mind. Then the second step that you can do is to create a vision board. And this is something I'm doing in my smaller program. It's called Big Business, Big Life. A new version will run end of January. And you can already apply for the waitlist, but I will probably tell you more about that very soon. And, a vision board is typically, you can create it in PowerPoint or Canva. And it has about 8 to 16 images of what you want, maybe your life to look like, maybe next year to look like, etc. So by visualizing it, and and actually hanging it everywhere in your apartment or house or room even, you're seeing it all the time, and you're being reminded of this. And this is such an interesting thing. And I spoke about this today with someone else also about, how important visualizing is actually. So not sure if I mentioned this on the podcast, but when I was a gymnast, I wasn't the best gymnast in the world. Actually, I think that if I would have worked more on, my mental preparedness and everything, and mental health actually in the sports, because sometimes I was really afraid, I would have been a much better gymnast. But that's just a side note there. But as a gymnast, I knew that, if I would, for instance, if I would do my exercise on balance beam and I was, just not focused at all, and I didn't visualize what the outcome of the exercise was going to be, then it was going to be fluff. It wasn't going to be nice to watch. But actually, if I would visualize my results and my presence on the beam and, the way I would look and stand, and maybe I would decide to, really, maybe take it. Sometimes you can let loose a little bit and be more in a flow, because, when you're on any gymnastics apparatus, really, you need to have a certain rhythm, so you can really step into the rhythm, or maybe be really focused on, every element that you have to do. And then it's a little bit more caught up and the rhythm is missing. So there's all these choices that you have. And, this is something very physical, and I was very young. But then I noticed that you can really influence, what you're going to put out, and also what you're capable of. And the same really goes, and this, you can relate to this probably in another matter, but I'm just using this gymnastics analogy because it's easy for me, and it's also very easy for me to explain. But you probably also have something like this. So, visualizing is really half of what you need to do. And I know that there's many people, maybe even listening, who are thinking that manifesting doesn't exist. No, it doesn't exist if you don't take action. It's not like I'm thinking, what, I want to have a Porsche. So I'm going to think about it every day and not take any action. That's not going to work. But it is a part of manifestation. So having that beginning with the end in mind, and actually being able to make a vision board, with just, you can use stock images, you can use your own images, you can even print it out, or maybe you can grab a magazine and see what's in there, all those things, and that will really help you get there sooner. So then what you can do is, so you've thought about your end in mind, and then I want to challenge you to think about the next 5 years or 3 years. What is going to be your goals? And this The reason why we're doing 5 years and 3 years is because it's still far enough to kind of detach yourself from your current reality. So, for instance, I'm having a plan. Currently, I'm 36. In February, I will turn 37. I have a plan what I want to reach before I'm 40 in my business. And this is more than 3 years, and I made the plan, and it's an incredible plan. No, it's actually, sorry, it's not. It's no, it is. Sorry, it is 3 years. Sorry, I had to think about this. I'm so sorry, because I always get so confused, when something is number this, and sometimes you have to add a number. Well, anyway, so it's 3 years. Sorry, yeah, this is my math and talking is not a good combination at the same time. You try it once. So anyway, the upcoming 3 years for me, I have a very clear plan of where I want to be. I'm sharing this with my coachees. I'm not going to share it on my podcast because it's very personal, and you might even laugh, but that's exactly why, it has to kind of tickle you. So yeah, I'm not going to share it. But let's say in 5 years, you want to reach a certain thing in your personal life. So maybe, you want to have children, or maybe you want to have a new house. You want to have this in your professional life. So maybe you want to run a 50% scalable, 50% service-based business, which makes you 100K a year. And maybe a spiritual life. Maybe you want to spend, every day 1 hour meditating. I don't know. Or maybe health and fitness. You want to go to the gym every day. There's all these things that you can write down for yourself. And, the nice thing about this, to have this in 3 or 5 years, is, that you don't have to do it, right away. So you can actually plan for it. And yeah, so I'm going to talk about that later. And then once you've done that, I want to ask you to think about the next year. So I'm recording this in December, beginning of December, and so it's very nice, of course, to look forward to next year. Also, next week, by the way, week's episode is also very much about looking back. So yeah, we're going to look forward before we're going to look back. And then once you've kind of figured it out, those 5, 3, and 1 year goals, visions, I want you to write down 3 goals per year. And those are big goals, right? So they, you can divide those goals again. So think about, 3 big goals. So the 3 things that I just mentioned, for instance, a new house or children or whatever, all those things are going to be one of those 3 goals. You decide, of course, which ones you want. And maybe you only want to have business goals. Maybe you only want to have personal goals, family goals, who knows? And so, in the end, you have 9 goals. So for next year, I want you to think about, so you've had your 1 year goal. So the goals for 2023. If you're listening to this in the future, I'm sorry that it's not accurate, but yeah, so it makes it a little bit easier to also understand. So let's say for 2023, one thing that you can do for next year is to divide those 3 goals, again, cut those up into 4 quarterly goals and then 3 goals per quarter. Sorry, I didn't explain it very well. So there's 4 quarters and then you write down 3 goals per quarter, which are adjacent, which makes sense, with those big goals, so you have your big goals for each quarter. And then you have your big goal for next year, and then for each quarter, you're kind of cutting up those big goals again. So, then you have more goals. And then what you can do next, this is, for instance, how I did it. So last year, I made a business plan, I made a goal-setting plan. I looked back at last year, and then I was looking at, the upcoming 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, and then I cut it up into 12, actually, quarterly goals. I think I met. Oh, I should have looked this up actually because it's almost end of year and I haven't really properly looked back. But I think I've met about a little bit more than half of my goals. And I'm very happy with it because I reached other goals, which I didn't know that were going to happen. But that's okay to have a flexible mindset in this. It can happen that, new things will come your way without planning for it. Obviously, I mean, I don't have to explain you this. If you've lived a life, you know this. I know. Yeah, I think you did actually. So, so I think it's more than half. But the thing is with those quarterly goals, is that if I wouldn't have set those goals, I would have never met them. I mean, the goals that I've had, yeah. And this goes actually for all my coaches. I'm thinking about them right now as I'm recording this for you. And then so that's how I set my my year plan. So that's actually where I kind of stopped. But one thing that you can do each quarter, and so I'm already giving this to you, or maybe you can already write this down actually in your yearly plan, is to create, you can guess it, 3 goals per month. So let's say January, February, March, that's 1 quarter. Write down 9 goals in total each month. And, cut yourself some slack here. Be easy, be nice on yourself. Don't be too hasteful because, you have that 5-year plan. You have time, and that's why I'm doing this with you, because I want you to see the long-term vision. And I know it's very hard. And I've also had very often a short-term vision, in many processes in, my business and career, but don't do it. Don't make that mistake. Think about the long term and trust on the long term. So cut yourself some slack, when deciding on those 3 goals, and then also plan once a month to see if you've met your goals. So I would really just, if you're writing down for yourself your 3 goals for the month, I would suggest you do it at, the first day of the month, or maybe the first Monday of the month, or Tuesday, or whatever, it works for you personally. And then write those down per month, and then maybe also per quarter. So if you have a quarter coming up, then for the upcoming 3 months, and be nice to yourself there. And then you can also plan at the end of the month. You can see if you have met your goals, and you can also decide if it's good or bad that you have or haven't met your goals. And so I always, I have, the first Monday of each month, I am using my data crunch file. That's where I'm looking up all the numbers, not just sales numbers, but followers numbers, interactions numbers, sales conversations numbers, reach, all those things. It's a very nice template actually, and I am going to sell it for a very friendly price very soon, but I just haven't set up my shop yet, so it will come to you. And then I write those things down, and then, I can see if I met my goals, yes or no. And you can use that for that. And then the fun part starts. You can also do this each week. So typically I like to review my week at the end of the week. You can ask yourself all kinds of questions like, what did you like? What was something you didn't like? What can you change to make it better? Was, your week aligned with your monthly goals? How to step those up, and then plan for next week. So I always know at the end of the week, and it is Friday, but actually this month it's going to be Thursday because I'm going to work 4 days a week, in December, because I want to take it more easy. So on Thursday, I already know what I'm going to do next week. And I hear people say, I'm like, what? I hear people say that they do this on Sunday, whilst I think, you can do this, but please just do it during the work week. Please, people, take care of yourselves. Again, there was a news headline again this week or last week in the Netherlands, at least, that so many people have problems, almost reaching burnout. So really take care of yourself there. It's, people are pushing themselves way too hard. And I think, that's the culture and that's what we're expecting to do. But, if you use this, actually, you know that you don't have to push anymore. So because you have your long-term goal and you don't have to stress anymore. That's also one of the reasons why I wanted to do this episode. So, and then once you've done the review of the week, you can go to your daily goals, and you have a maximum of 3 goals a day. People hate it when I say this. So actually also 3 tasks. Sometimes you can kind of cluster some tasks if you're very small little things to do. This can typically be before a launch, and I'm also not perfect, right? So sometimes I have 8 things on my to-do list. I'm like, ugh. But really try to keep it very minimal. And what happens is this will help you set boundaries. And you will be very able to say no to things that don't serve you or your goals. And, one other thing that I really like to do is that you can celebrate reaching each mini goal with a break or with food or with a drink, whatever. So and that's it, actually. It's that simple. And I really believe that if this is the way that you're going to work, it's going to really amp up your productivity, because you're going to be so much happier of what you've done every day because you only had 3 things to do. Sorry, but you can do that. And, mind you, I work 6 hours a day, and, I can do 3 goals in 6 hours. And maybe you can do this as well. And maybe you're even working 8 hours. Then it's super doable to reach those 3 goals a day. So please try to do this. Try to do this. Maybe December is a perfect month for this, because sometimes I feel like people are already asleep in this month. Whilst actually it's still running. It's still, I'm recording this on December 5th, and it's still 20 days till Christmas. So, no, I'm kidding. I'm also going to I think I'm going to take the days off until the end of the year, starting December 21st. So this is it. This is my big tip. Starting from that in the mind, 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. And then another fun bonus exercise I want to give to you is to imagine your ideal day, ideal week, ideal month, and ideal year. And this could be very precise if you want to do that. So ideal day could be, I'm waking up and I'm with my traveling cappuccino, and I'm going to I'm thinking about which movie I did that traveling cappuccino is coming from. Sorry, I'm blanking here. I think it is actually from Six and the City. Explicit version. So ideal day, what do you look like? Who do you hang out with? What kind of day? Do you have meetings, or do you just work, numbers crunching in the computer, or you're just counting your money in the safe? I'm kidding. Your ideal week, is that, are you working 2 days a week, or are you working 3 days a week? Are you always, I don't know, maybe even taking 1 day off to get inspired, watching, going to museum exhibitions, or maybe going to another city every week, month, maybe for your ideal month, maybe you want to go have a city trip every month, or on a holiday every month. And an ideal year is, you can even do ideal quarter, but that sounds a little bit less romantic. But ideal year, this is something that I really want to do. And I've been talking about this, I think already for about 3 years, actually, that there's someone I know who is going, I don't think he's doing it anymore, but who is going every year. He's going 3 months to Japan, Tokyo, because that's with the tourist visa you can still go there, without it being legal. And ever since he told me this, maybe it was even 4 years ago, I was thinking, oh, this is possible. And I don't have children, so I know that I'm in that luxurious position that I can actually do that. But I'm thinking, what is stopping me right now? Yes, my husband does have a job where he has to go into the office, but maybe there's something that could be arranged. But the interesting thing is, what is kind of keeping us for me to kind of really push through. And, you probably have this too. You could have this also maybe that you want to spend the summer somewhere and, do maybe 4 hours of work a day and then, just go to the beach. Oh, that would be so nice, wouldn't it? So, try to, make up your ideal year. It's so many people are just going through the motions. And that's one thing that I want to say as well. So, I've been, actually, it's almost been a year now that I'm working 6 hours a day. And this is not perfect, right? So sometimes I'm working 8, sometimes I'm working 4, but I'm really trying to make it my business to, finish everything in 6 hours. And, the thing is that what I noticed about, the past few years, I was thinking I'm way more productive in those 6 hours because, I can do the same thing. My business didn't break down from just working those 6 hours a day. And actually, imagine, I should actually calculate how many hours less I'm working now every year or this year. And actually that I've reached my goals, so I just said half of my goals, but my income goal I did actually meet, and I'm very happy about that. So, that was for me, it's totally not scientific, by the way, this, of course, because it's just me. But for myself, I know, okay, this is good enough. Sorry. What did I want to say about this? Yes. So if I can do this in 6 hours, and I was thinking about this, I was thinking, you know what? Actually, as a freelancer, I was also really just going through the motions, really just sitting on my desk, at home with my laptop. I was just doing work, filling up the hours. No, I shouldn't do that. That's really bad. So that's one of the things that I wanted to, one of the thoughts that I wanted to send you the day in with. So last week I spoke about, that's something that I wanted to share with you. I spoke about that I am going to launch Your Winter Reset. And also, talk about productivity. I was thinking about this and, I was actually thinking about, December is going to be such a big month. And why is that? And I'm tired and I just want to go to bed. And actually, now I'm kind of, doubting again about this. I guess I was just very tired after Black Friday sales, which went great, by the way. Thanks for asking. I'm so happy. I've welcomed so many new people, actually, because, for Black Friday, I had some very interesting sales going on and very interesting discounts as well. So I'm sorry, but you missed those. So thank you so much for the people who stepped in, and I cannot wait to work with you. So if you stepped into the mastermind, you're only going to start in February, but you're already committed to stepping in. Anyway, there's not going to be a Your Winter Reset this year, and I'm so very sorry. But sometimes I just have to, really choose me. And I remember creating Your Summer Reset this summer, and it was really great, but it was also taking a lot of time. I just don't want to do that anymore. And another thing that I want to share with you, a little bit of premiere, is that I am going to change my podcast format, and it's going to be delicious. I've been talking to a lot of people about this, and they're so very enthusiastic. I'm not going to share it right now what it's going to be, but it will come to you, no worries, and that will start actually January 5th. And it's going to be, I think this is a great format already, but it's going to be 1,000 times better. So if you're thinking, you know what, Sarah, I really like what you're saying, there is one way that you're able to work with me right now is the 3-week intensive, and I will put the link below. Thank you so much for listening, and hope to see you next week.